What is happening, Magnus? Let's check this out. See what chilling warning Mr. Rogan has for us. This should be interesting. Play, damn it.
Leslie, I wanted to get your thoughts on something. Joe Rogan, right? He has a huge podcast, millions of followers and listeners. And as I argue, he has a subscription to Curiosity. He's not party affiliated, but he had this warning for the left where he talked about that these celebrations, these vile celebrations over Charlie Kirk's assassination might push America to the brink. Let's watch.
Charlie Kirk gets shot and people are celebrating. Like, whoa. You want people to die that you disagree with? Like, where are we right now in this?
How sick is that? Exactly. Highly sick. And they've been talking for years. They've been saying for years that there's a mental illness epidemic in America. It was on full display when that man was assassinated.
Scale of 1 to Civil War. Where are we? Are we at 7? Because I thought we were at 5. I thought we were like 4 or 5. But after the Charlie Kirk thing, I'm like, oh, we might be like 7.
Yeah, I don't think we're close to a Civil War, but I see what he means by that. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that we're, even halfway, but what it put on display of people's mindsets, it was sad. It was, it was amazing. Actually, it was amazing to see, like, wow, just people that sick. People that sick. You know what I mean? I don't get it. Probably because I'm sane. But, the majority of people with mental illness, they don't know they are. Just people that do. It's people that know they have issues. But the worst is when you don't even know it.
Like step 7 on the way to a bona fide civil war.
Leslie, is he right?
No. And as a broadcaster, I think it's irresponsible to even put that out there.
No, I don't think it was irresponsible. He was giving his opinion on what he thinks the state of America is. He's allowed to give his opinion. It wasn't irresponsible. If he's pushing for one, that's what's irresponsible.
We're a great nation, and one of the things that makes us great is that we can live together with all of our different ethnicities and cultures and religions and political ideologies. There aren't just two. It isn't just left and right, as we can see from primaries, right? There's left of left and there's right of right. I want to say something about this. I live in California. Harris, we have kids similar age. I just did the college tours with my kids. Went to UC Berkeley. It's one of the UC schools. Walk freely on campus. There's no security stopping me. I'm going on campus. And the reason I say that, first, I want to say that violence, and I will repeat that violence is wrong. Violence for any reason is wrong. 2, people in this country have...
That depends. Sometimes we have to use violence to bring criminals in. But I see the line that she's, walking on.
Have a First Amendment constitutional right to free speech, but not to incite violence. I don't think I agreed with anything Charlie said, but he had the right to say it. You should...
Anything? Nothing? Good Lord.
Never, ever, ever say anything demeaning about somebody who's been assassinated, cut down in the prime of life. And in addition to that, you just don't speak ill of the dead. That's how I was raised. You don't speak ill of the dead.
You can speak ill of the dead. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people in history that have done some insanely reprehensible things. Correct? Okay, you can speak ill of the dead. They did this. This is wrong. They were a piece of for this. And don't you do it. You're allowed to do that. I've never been like that. Ever. Oh, don't speak it. It's in certain situations where that applies. You know what I'm saying? You have somebody's funeral, you know, the family's there. At that point, he was a real piece of, you don't do that, okay? You know what I'm saying?
Turning Point has a right to have, their, membership and to have their meetings. But I also want to point out that University of Berkeley has 46,000 students. And on my radio show, we had a man on the ground, the man on the street, go and talk to people. And it's amazing how many students didn't even know this was going on. They didn't even know. The campus is 98 acres. It's really huge. This was happening on one.
I tell you, man, after Charlie passed away, I was, and everything was going on. I was hard pressed to find anything to where he said something that was racist. That was like, everybody kept saying, "Oh, he's racist. He's this. He's that," and anything that I can find, would be a clip without context. Every time, every single time, it would be the same clips, out of context, every single time. That shows. See, you gotta watch who you listen to, what you watch. You gotta do your own detective work. No matter who's saying it, you need to do your own detective work.
End of the campus. Also, if you look at all the footage, there are some older people that were there. I find it hard to believe they were students. So I just want to say, I don't want the kids at UC Berkeley to all be demonized. I don't believe that everybody there were students.
Not everybody was down with it.
It's never right. It's never the answer, regardless of your political ideology. And every campus should welcome other opinions. Like Liberty, let some atheists talk. UC Berkeley, let conservatives talk. I believe in that free speech, and I believe that's how we become.
You know what's weird about humans? Like, when you look at other points in history, like, they would have hangings in the town square. People would cheer, take pictures, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think mental illness can be socialized right on into you. You know what I'm saying? A sane person can be led to believe and behave insanely. I've seen some of the most horrible. It's like, listen, even now, if, I don't, whatever. Like, say people started having public executions over here again. Firing squads, hangings, whatever. Even if it was a dude I found out was like a serial killer, whatever. I'm not going to see it. I don't want to see it. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to see it. Handle it. Take him out. That's it. You know what I mean? I don't understand the want to see it. I could get it if it was a family member of yours or whatever, Like, I get that, but I just don't understand. Like I said, the pictures that I've seen of people cheering and smiling and taking pictures next to the body, and like, just comes grotesqueries of our history and civilization that are very uncivilized. It just makes me think, what the is wrong with humans? We've done so much good and beauty in the world, and we're also, at the same time, one of the most evil, vile things on the planet. It's
more united and don't have a civil war.
It sounds similar to Colombia. In Colombia, they said a lot of these people weren't their students, but they were organized with the unsavory attitude.
But I was thinking
from
too,
outside,
right here in New York, yeah.
And that's what I wanted to focus on with you, Kaylee. So I grew up right by the campus. I went to Cal for a semester. And regardless if it's a tiny faction, the reality is that it happened and that we saw a violent attack. And then we saw, as Harmeet Dillon discussed, the essentially constructive suppression of free speech, which is unconstitutional and also criminal when you bring in bloody attacks at will. And we're not seeing that on every campus. So the reality is that there is whatever faction has defined it is alive and well, and it is frightening.
Yeah, and we cover stories like this endlessly. There's the violence we saw at UC Berkeley. There's the social studies teacher you played that said Bye, Charlie. What a piece of garbage. Look what happens. I mean, what an appalling thing to say. And this person is teaching students. That's not just one isolated example. We've seen examples like this across the country. And those folks belong nowhere near educating our
Let me
children.
tell you something. There's a lot of effed up people, effed up in the brain. They're in authoritative positions. They are the authorities. They teach you. They lead you. You need to watch who your leaders are. You don't just blindly go with what anyone says. Even your own parents sometimes, can say something off that's off. Like, hey, Dad, come on now. That was, you know what I'm saying? Mom, where'd you hear that, Mom? You know what I'm saying?
And at UC Berkeley, if we could just pull back up those images, my favorite was the media. There were some in the media trying to tell us this was mostly peaceful. Wasn't mostly peaceful. There were fireworks. There was tear gas. You covered, is that peaceful? There was a bloodied face. No, that's not mostly peaceful. That was a real CNN moment for the media when they said mostly peaceful protests as fire raged behind the reporter. That was in a different context in the summer of 2020. This was not mostly peaceful. This was very, very wrong. And what speech were they stifling? Not that it matters, because free speech doesn't characterize what you say.
All right, I'm going to stop it here. Just need to find out what Mr. Rogan said and what was going on here. So post down below. Let me know. Do you think that we're actually close to a civil war? Where do you think we are on the scale of 1 to 10? 10 being the greatest. And I think we're at like a 2 or a 3. Let me know what you think. 10 million subscribers.